Welcome to the Resilient Mindset Podcast, an exciting new podcast by Resilience Queen, Justine Martin. Justine is the owner and founder of the Resilient Mindset, a division of the Justine Martin Corporation. Justine draws on her years of experience and knowledge consulting with clients to develop and sustain a positive mindset. Focused on igniting your passion, purpose and power, follow the Resilience Queen each week as she delves into the mind of her guests, exploring fascinating stories and inspiring journeys.
John's life had been touched by tragedy not once, but twice, through fatal car crashes that have impacted his family. It was the loss of his youngest daughter, Carmen, just 30 months after his car crash, that spurred him on to create Carmen's Road Safety. Educating is John's passion. Over the past 25 years, 450,000 secondary school students in Australia have been empowered by his true life story. John's presentations are both heart-wrenching and thought-provoking, leaving attendees with a newfound appreciation for life and desire to make better decisions. John's highlight is his book, Carmen's Legacy. Launched in February 2022, it features chapters from Carmen's sisters Michelle, Katrina and Jasmine.
Welcome back, listeners, to the Resilience Mindset Podcast. Today I've got with me John Maher. How are you, John?
I'm really well, thanks, Justine. And you?
I'm fantastic. Now, John and I have had a few technical issues today, and I think this is take 6, isn't it, mate?
Yeah, round about that.
Yeah. So anyway, we're going to cross our fingers and cross our toes and every other part of our anatomy and see if we can get through this podcast without it lagging or dropping out or me saying the wrong name. So here we go. So, John, what does resilience mean to you?
Well, resilience has had a lot to do with my life. In fact, when I was 42, I had a really bad car accident, and that stopped me and my family in our tracks. Prior to that, I was very successful in the insurance industry as a manager. And when I was 42, I was told that I'd never work again. And I accepted that, actually, because I was in a pretty bad way. One of my worst injuries was frontal lobe damage, which causes really bad short-term memory problems, which meant that management was basically out of the question. And I had a very bad neck and back. 2.5 years after that, our eldest daughter, Carmen, fell asleep at the wheel, and she crashed into a tree and was killed instantly, just 5 kilometres from home. And Michelle, our eldest daughter, was the third car on the scene. And resilience to me means how you have to get up and face life after life has been taken from you. And it just sucked the life out of us, what happened to Carmen. And the most resilient person that I know is my eldest daughter, Michelle, who said to Carmen as she left home, "Carmen, you're tired. Wind the window down, turn the wireless up. You'll be right, mate. I'll catch you later." And less than an hour later, when Michelle was on her way into work, she did catch Carmen. Carmen was on her way home from dropping her best friend into Bendigo at McDonald's, and her best friend had stayed the night. And what we didn't know is the two girls had talked in the bedroom until 4:30 in the morning, as kids do.
Yeah.
And Michelle was the third car on the scene. So she immediately blamed herself for Carmen's death. She still blames herself for Carmen's death 27 years down the track. Michelle has been through so much. We all have. But Michelle, above all of us, with the blame, with her sliding down that slippery slope to where she was standing on the edge of almost committing suicide.
Yeah.
And I now know that people have to have a reason not to do that.
Yes.
And Michelle's reason while she was there getting ready to commit suicide, her reason was that she couldn't do that to mum and dad so soon, especially after losing Carmen. So resilience now sees Michelle with 2 beautiful children. The eldest will turn 21 this year.
Wow.
A really happy marriage. All of our girls, thankfully, you pray that your children will end up with wonderful husbands, and we struck the lottery 3 times in a row. We have 6 grandchildren. They have 2 children each. And I believe we're as resilient a family as you can ever find. And sitting above all of us, right on top, is Michelle, because when she had had Jada, she said, "The weight has been lifted up off my shoulders. Jada has brought me back to life." That was her first child. So resilience comes in many forms.
Yeah, it does.
Ours has been a long, long journey without our beautiful youngest daughter, Carmen. So I guess resilience to us is a day-by-day process. But
Look, I think a resilience with everyone is a day-by-day
it is.
process as well. You know, resilience is the buzzword at the moment. We've been talking about this in the last couple of episodes about it being a buzzword, and it kind of really came to light through COVID times. And
Yes,
being
it did.
resilient through COVID times.
Yeah.
Prior to that, there wasn't a great deal of buzz around that particular word. Some people might call it grit.
Yes.
It used to be called grit back in the day. We don't hear that word grit so much anymore.
No.
But I just want to firstly acknowledge and say I'm sorry for your loss
Thank you.
Carmen's passing. And
Yeah.
I know it is a long time ago, but it still must hurt. You know, as a parent, I couldn't even fathom what you've gone through, John. And now you go out spreading Carmen's legacy. Do you want to share with the listeners of what Carmen's legacy actually is and what your mission now is?
Certainly, yeah, my word. Well, 2 years after we lost Carmen, we were in Bendigo at the time. We're just outside of Bendigo, and Carmen lost her life just 5 kilometres from home. And I'd had my car accident just 5 kilometres from home. And by the way, in that car accident, an 18-year-old girl who had her licence for just 23 days lost her life. She lost control of the four-wheel drive that she was driving, that her dad purchased for her to keep her safe. I came to a complete stop on the highway and sat there as I watched her roll up the road, and she landed on the roof and bonnet of my car, and sadly she was killed instantly. And that's when I got all of my injuries and stopped my life in its tracks. But 2 years after we lost Carmen, there was another crash in Bendigo. I coached the dad of one of the boys who was killed in that car crash. I coached him at cricket prior to my car accident, and there was 4 of them. They were all Year 12 students, and they were driving in his car, and he was going for his licence the next Monday. It was a Friday night after school. They were doing donuts on a dirt road in the Whipstick Forest, and the car flipped onto its side, skidded up against a tree, and the roof of the car was pushed down on the doors. No one was injured, but they couldn't get out of the car, and that car caught on fire, and all 4 boys were burnt to death.
Oh, my God.
That was the catalyst. Carmen was the catalyst for me to want to do something. But when these 4 boys lost their lives, and I had been watching all of these young people die on our roads so regularly and pinching cars and doing silly things. Adults do silly things too. Adults pinch cars as well. But I felt that the young people were the ones that Carmen could reach. I'm only the spokesperson. It's Carmen's message. So what I did then was I approached schools, and at that time I was offering to present at schools for nothing.
Yep.
And in the first year, I spoke at 5 schools. They were all absolutely delighted. The next year, all 5 booked me straight away, and I got some more, and it gradually grew from there, where prior to COVID, I was speaking at 80 secondary schools a year. I was doing about 30 to 40 corporate events at conferences and seminars.
Just to interrupt you there, John, 80 schools a year, how many students is that you were touching the lives of?
Yeah, about 13 to 15,000 every year. So I've spoken to more than 450,000 students and over 300,000 adults at corporate events. So, and I've done that internationally as well. But since 2016, I've totally concentrated on Australia because I'm old. And apart from that, also...
You're not going to tell us your age, are you?
I'm 72.
There you go. Most people are in retirement at that age, and here you are still out trying to change our youth and the mindset of our youth. And I'm a bit emotional, actually, with what you do.
I don't want any other parent to have to live the life that we live. And every parent
Or
who
grandparent.
lives this life, or grandparent, absolutely. And that's
Yep.
what scares the life out of me, that one of my grandchildren could lose their lives on the roads, because
Yeah.
we know how easily it can be done.
Yep.
And there are so many grandparents and parents like us who are living this life. Now,
Yeah.
I would just love to be able to stop that. And I've got another mission, which I'll talk to you about shortly, which my mission has grown. It's grown from 5 schools in 1 year to 80 schools plus 30 odd corporate events.
Yep.
And it has touched the lives of, 700, 800,000 people. And then they've gone home. In particular, the students have gone home, told their parents about Carmen. So it's well over 1 million people. And I get comments from the parents thanking me for bringing Carmen into the lives of their students who are vulnerable.
Yep.
And then that impacts the entire family. So I've been on an incredible journey, because I know that every time I stand up and speak, Carmen is standing beside me. I'm the luckiest dad in the world who's lost a child, because every time I speak, Carmen is with me. I'm the spokesperson, but it's her message, and it's great.
Yeah, it's just truly amazing what you're doing, John. I grew up in a small country town in northern New South Wales. There was about 6,000 people in that town, but there were little villages around the area, and there was one village in particular that there were more young people buried in that cemetery that were still alive in the town, and the majority of them were all killed in car accidents. The town was about 40 kilometres out from where we were, and the majority of them were killed going back home. And on backs of motorbikes on the highway, and we lost lots of school friends going through school from it, and things haven't improved. You only have to look at the Easter road toll that's just been. It's just phenomenal.
Well, I can tell you, before Easter, there had been 86 people killed on Victoria's roads, and we were 96 days into 2023. 86 in 96 days. Now, last year, 248 people were killed on Victorian roads. We are on target right now for 320.
What
So
on earth is going on? What's going on with people? Slow down, pay attention.
Yes.
Yeah.
And look at the one over Easter up near Warragul, was it, or Wangaratta?
Something like that.
Yeah, and it was a stolen car. The driver has been arrested or charged, and a 26-year-old young man has been killed. And I'll tell you something else. It is very rarely the driver who dies in those types of accidents.
Right.
It is the person
who makes
the choice, the innocent life. But actually, they have made the choice to actually get in the car. So it is still their choice, and that's what I try to impart on young people. When you are a passenger in a car, you are gifting your life to a driver, and you now no longer own the most precious commodity that you have in the world, and that is your life.
Yep.
And you must be conscious of who you're giving that life to. And if they're doing something wrong, you must speak up, because you have only one life to live.
That's right.
Carmen had her first car accident 3 months into having her licence, and her life was taken from us. So you will live or die in a car crash based 100% on luck.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. So what coping mechanisms, John, did you use to build your resilience through all of this?
We all went to counselling. I'd been to counselling for 2 years after my car accident, because even though the car accident wasn't my fault, I was really struggling with coping that a young girl had died in my car accident. But then when we lost Carmen, we all found ourselves in counselling. And this is where I want to give a shout out to TAC, because we didn't pay for any of that. and we couldn't have paid for any of that.
So let's explain what TAC is, because I know what it is, you know
Yep.
what it is, but
Yep.
we've got international listeners, and
Yep.
even interstate, it's different from state to state here in
That's
Australia.
right.
So TAC is
The Traffic Accident Commission in Victoria.
Yep.
So every state has a commission that pays for injuries, death. Like they paid for the coffin, they paid for everything, like the funeral plot, everything.
That's
like
what we pay our registration
the
for.
registration for. Yes, that's exactly right. And everybody must also understand. I do have a bit of a criticism of the TAC as well. The TAC is an insurance company.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Carmen's death, when Carmen was killed, that was actually a win for the TAC. If Carmen had been seriously injured and ended up being hospitalised for a long period of time, we would have, like I did in my car crash, I would have had to have taken the TAC to court at my cost to try and get compensation for the injuries that all specialists told me that I would never work again. And so they get in there and try and keep their costs down and fight you over what you're entitled to. So I guess that's what they have to do. But look, don't get in a car accident. That's all I'll say is avoid a car accident at all costs, because there are processes that you never, ever want to go through. As a family, we had to go into the funeral parlour. We never ever got to see Carmen after her car crash. I knew Barry really well at the funeral parlour, and I said, Barry, when can we come in and say goodbye to Carmen and spend time with Carmen? And he said, John, you can't bring your children in to see Carmen like this. And I beg you, mate, you can't bring Ange in to see Carmen like this. And John, I'm telling you, I don't want you to come in and see Carmen like this. We had a meeting over it. He actually said to me, if I know what you like, and if you decide that you're going to come in, we will have to bandage up more than 3/4 of Carmen's head and face. You might feel me being a little bit emotional, because I think of what our absolutely beautiful Carmen must have looked like after she hit that tree, because the tree hit right in the driver's side door. She was doing 100 kilometres an hour. The only good thing about it was that Carmen was killed instantly.
Yeah.
So we didn't get to see Carmen, but we did have to go in, pick out the type of wood grain that we needed for the coffin. We had to pick the silk out. We had to pick out the type of crosses that were going to screw the lid down on our door.
I had to do that with my mum.
Yeah.
And
isn't it heart-wrenching?
It is. And you know what's wrong with our society, John? Is we don't normalise death.
No, we don't.
No one's getting out of this world alive.
No.
So whether it's an accident or whether it's natural causes,
yes,
we're all going some way. And our culture, our society does not normalise it. Now, I lost my partner last year. I found him dead on the floor in August. And I've been around dead bodies in the past with my mum passing away, so I've had to pick out coffins and then both my grandparents, and we were fortunate to have viewings. Well, some may say, not fortunate, but I found it fortunate.
I would have loved to have given Carmen a kiss
to
on the
say
cheek.
that, but then with Deanie, I didn't get that opportunity to say goodbye to him. He was taken to Sydney, and his family picked his coffin and everything from that. And just if there was some normalisation and conversations and stuff like that. It's like when my mum died, we didn't know if she wanted to be buried or cremated. And it was a choice that, the family had to sit down and make, and we decided to bury her because she'd had so much done in life.
Yes.
Rather than cremating as well. Don't know if it was the right choice. Don't know if it was her choice, because she never had a will. She never had a living will on what she wanted done. With that. But I think it would have helped with the grieving process.
Yes.
With all of them.
Yeah.
If we normalised death.
That's it. I agree.
Because I'm sure this happened to you, because it happened to me last year. It happened when my mum died, when my grandparents died. People don't know what to say to you.
They crossed the road. They crossed the road on us. Michelle came home and said, and I won't name the people, obviously, but they were walking towards her down the street and they saw her and they grabbed each other by the arm and crossed the road.
Yeah.
Now,
And that's despicable.
And that's not, it's actually, I thought about it, and it's actually not despicable.
It's their
actually
coping mechanism.
That's their coping mechanism. They don't know what to say. They didn't want to upset Michelle. I'm looking at all the positive sides of what people were doing. We lost friends out of, firstly, my car crash, because I was really well known in Bendigo. I was the vice president of the Trotting Club, running an insurance company, and they drop off. Because, and I didn't
I have
have
a saying for that.
Yes.
Grief rearranges your address book.
Very good. It does. You're right.
It does. And because, when I was diagnosed with MS, so, major traumas in your life will rearrange your address book. Now, when I got diagnosed with MS, and then when I got diagnosed with all the cancers, I had people that I would have considered very good, close friends drop away. Yeah. Anyway, I confronted one of them and I said, "What did I do to you?" She goes, "You did nothing. I just didn't know what to say to you." I said, "I am the same person going through a momentous thing in my life. It might not be a happy thing, but it was a momentous thing in my life. And I just needed someone to sit and listen."
That's right. That's right.
You don't have to say anything. You just have to be there for that person and know that, and that person know that you're there. Sit in silence and listen to them talk. And if it makes you uncomfortable, tough shit.
Yeah,
exactly. Because it's not about you.
Yeah, that's right. Well, Michelle for 2 years, she gave part of my presentation at the schools before she had Jada. And they wouldn't come to my presentations. Then I spoke at the Ballarat University, and they all came. So did their cousins, the ones who carried Carmen out in the coffin and everything like that. And they all sat there and cried. So the whole place was crying. So anyway, at the end of it, Michelle came up to me and she said, "Dad, that's just amazing. I can see why you do this. Can I help? Can I give a part of the presentation?" So she spoke about how she told Carmen she was tired, how she went out to the car with them, then how she was on her drive into Bendigo and what she came across, went through all, and she cried through most of it. But do you know, one of the things that she said getting towards the end of it was that so many friends are no longer friends with her, and they crossed the road and all of this type of thing. And she said, you may find yourself in that situation where one of your friends has lost somebody and it's really affected them and really affected you. All I will say to you is go up to them and say, "I don't know what to say, but I'm here for you." That's all you have to say, because then you know that they're not turning their back on you. And that was our initial feeling. But when thinking about it, I knew that wasn't what they were doing. They just didn't know what to say. You know, that's fine. That is actually fine not to know what to say.
It is.
It is.
And again, that's because we don't normalise death.
We don't. That's right, yeah.
We think that it is a taboo, forbidden subject.
Yes.
Which is ridiculous.
Well, it is. And, we've lived with it. And that's why my talks, particularly at schools, I am actually normalising death for all of the students because they hear these messages. They hear what we go through as a family. But the biggest thing for these students is that I always say to them, you do not understand who you are. You are the most important person in the world to the people who love you so much.
Right.
And you cannot do to your mum and dad, your brothers and sisters, and your best friend who you're sitting next to right now, you can't do what Carmen did to us to them. And kids cuddle each other in the classroom. I'm talking about 6'4" footballers and people like that, and they're putting their arms around each other because all of a sudden the penny drops and their self-worth is now through the roof, and so it should be. But not enough people tell the young people in Australia or in the world that you are worth so much. Do not underestimate yourself because you're the most important person in the world there's only one of you.
Yeah.
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 And
I've had a couple of guests on here that one that comes to mind that he was in season 1 and he tried to take his own life. And now he goes out talking about his journey.
Great.
Matthew, his name is. So if you're listening, listeners, I think he's about episode 6, maybe a bit more. Anyway, you'll find him on season 1. He's now a paraplegic because of it. So he threw himself off a building or bridge, something like that. And he goes out and educating the youth on, you know, don't do what he tried to do.
Yeah.
And helping as well. And I think, you know, you both are amazing people in the adversity that you have faced and turning that into, you know, a life mission. I'm presuming, John, yours is a life mission.
That's why I'm still going at 72.
When do you think you'll stop?
I hope I don't stop. I've just started on a new journey in my mission because I just thought that I would keep speaking at schools and corporate. But 20 years ago or 21 years ago, I started writing a book. I knew that one day I wouldn't be able to go to the schools and continue, because the schools are my passion, and continue to educate these young people. So I started writing the book, and you mentioned Andrew Jobling before, and he was a great help to me in keeping me back on.
So he's also on season 1.
Okay, very good, excellent. Well, I finally finished the book in February last year, and that is my new passion. This is going to be the pinnacle of everything that I've done for the past 25 years.
Have you got a copy there?
I have. That's it.
Do you want to show us?
So right
if you're watching the vlog or if you're listening to the podcast, you can pop over to the vlog and you'll see John and myself chatting away. And so that's Carmen on the front cover.
That's Carmen on the front. And
so the book actually, the cover says A Journey of Tragedy and Hope, Carmen's Legacy. And
by John Maher. And Carmen's right in the front. That's Michelle, our eldest daughter, who was the third car on the scene.
Yeah.
Katrina was in Sydney at the time, our second eldest. That's Jazzy there, who's a blonde hair, so you don't see her really all that clearly on this. But that's Jasmine. And they're 3 cousins. They're all carrying Carmen out of St. Teresa's Church in Bendigo in a coffin. And there is Carmen's car crash, where she crashed into that tree just there. So I designed the cover and I'm really happy with it because it tells the story in itself. And that's who we lost, which is just...
She looks like you.
She does look like me. Yes, that's right. Yeah. She was very attractive.
She's attractive. I don't know so much about you, John. I'm just kidding.
But my journey now I've been to Canberra and I've met with the Minister for Road Safety, Australia, because the roads are out of control in Australia and there's too many people being injured and killed on our roads. And
100%.
I have a presentation. I wrote to Road Safety, to Education Victoria. I received a letter back that informed me that I'd be pleased to note that every school in Victoria teaches road safety to their students.
That's a crock of shit.
Oh, well said. And you won't get a big tick for that because it is correct. So I immediately started ringing the schools that I speak at. I spoke to 15 and then I stopped, but the second last was a principal, and he said worse than what you just said. He said, I sit on principals' board with all of the other principals. There is no school that I know that teaches road safety as a subject. So my goal is to get this book as a subject into the second term in every school in Australia. And at year 10 level, there are 330,000 year 10 students in Australia. Can you imagine handing them, and I believe in our youth, I believe in the young people coming through, because in there somewhere there's a future Prime Minister, there's a future priest, there's a future... That all people are coming through. So they need to be...
It's the next generation in society.
It's the next generation, that's right. They're being educated. So they, I believe, will take on board road safety. I'm also getting an audio book will be finished at the end of this month of my book, which is awesome, yes. And it will start off with me introducing myself and welcoming them to be the first group in changing the future of Australia on our roads, and thanking them to do it. So every teacher, so there's going to be 355,000 books. They'll all be delivered at no cost, funded by Road Safety Australia. This is what I'm fighting for, but and they will be educated. Now, that will make a massive difference, and all there has to be.
And will that be every year?
Every year.
Or is it just a once-off?
No, every year, because then from the next year, 660,000 have been educated. The next year, it's 990,000 have been educated. But I will also be saying to them, now that you know about this book, take it home, give it to mum and dad to read, and your brothers and sisters and your best friend. So there'll be millions of people being educated on road safety, and we will change road safety in Australia. I have not seen the TAC ad once this year that says towards zero. Not once. And the reason is because 4 people were killed on the 1st of January. And I've always said when I was in management, if something is to be is achievable, it must be believable.
That's right.
Now, towards zero right now is not believable.
No.
But with the education of all of the people coming through, and 2050 is, which is the date that they are talking about towards zero, 8,800,000 Australians will have been educated through this book. They'll all receive the same education with the same teachings because it's on a format, and they will learn the same lessons, and they are the ones that will take us to zero. The 40-year-olds and 50-year-olds can't, because we're set in our road, and the 72-year-olds are set in their ways. But when I spoke to the minister, she asked a wonderful question. She said, but John, what about our 30, 40 and 50-year-olds? I said, that was your job 20, 30, 40 years ago.
That's
I
right.
said, but if you do nothing now, you'll ask about them again in 20 years' time. We need to do it right now. So at the moment, what's happening is that they've asked me to do a pilot program in Victoria with 20 schools. So they'll fund that. But I honestly believe that we shouldn't even be doing a pilot program. That I've got the figures that show that if we save two deaths, that's my cost for the book delivered and everything done in the schools is $5.7 million for 330,000 students. The cost of 2 deaths is $6.4 million.
So how do you work out the death? How do you work out? Because people will be going, oh, well, how do you work out that?
Yes, that's available to everybody on the government website under road safety, and there's a complete document there. And you have here the National Safety Strategy for 2021 to 30, and that talks about their strategy. They've got $44 billion to spend. It costs Australians on the roads in a year $27 billion in injuries and deaths on our roads. So they're spending $44 billion on side barriers, on filling potholes, on putting an overpass over a railway line.
But not education.
Not once in here is education mentioned.
It's ridiculous.
So I've been to them, and they tried not to agree with me, but they have to agree with me, because if we don't...
You're a very agreeable man. So.
If they don't do something, we're going to get the same result year after year after year.
It's the definition of insanity, doing the same thing.
It is.
Doing the same thing over and over and over and expecting a different outcome.
Correct.
It's just ludicrous.
Yeah. And the best thing about my book is this is about every single family in Australia.
So where can people get your book, John?
Yes, they can get it. They can get it on Amazon or any of the online books where they read the book that way. But my website is carmen.com.au.
And we're going to put that in the bio, listeners. So
that's really good.
I'd recommend that if you've got teenage children that you buy them a copy, or nieces and nephews or grandchildren that you buy
Yes.
them a copy? I mean, my grandson, I've got a 13 and an 11-year-old grandsons, and, another couple of years they'll be up there and ready to start driving, and I'll definitely be buying. Well, hopefully it's in all their schools.
Yes, yeah, that's right. I hope it's in all their schools by then. Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
It
I'll
would
be doing my best.
ludicrous not to be.
Every parent who comes and sees me or contacts me after reading the book, they are all saying, can't this be taught in schools? And it must be. Something must be done. And our Year 10 students are all learning to drive that year. They're all sitting in the classroom. They're all being educated. Nothing could be simpler and nothing could be easier.
No, that's right. It's a no-brainer.
Yes, yes.
Well, to me, it's a no-brainer, but geez, I tried to be a politician and they wouldn't let me in.
Wouldn't they? Okay.
Twice I've tried.
You're not political enough.
No. I think I made too much sense is the thing, John.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't think the Australian government could handle it if I went into Parliament, actually.
Well, what I've been really pleased with Road Safety Victoria. Particularly, I'd love to give a shout out to Catherine King MP, who's in Canberra all the time, and Catherine put me on to 2 other ministers, and that's how I ended up in Canberra with the meeting. And they've been really they threw up great objections, but they also see that this is actually needed. But I am disappointed that I have to run a pilot program, because while the pilot program is being run, people are going to be dying on our roads.
Yeah, that's right. So how long's the pilot program for, John?
Well, it'll be for the whole of 2024, but it's only a 1-term subject in a school.
Okay.
So it's
is that in the first term or second term?
No, I would like to run it in the second term.
Okay.
Let the kids get the Christmas.
So this time in 12 months?
So this time 12 months, exactly. Yeah, that would be just absolutely amazing. So if anybody listening has a child who's going to go into Year 10 next year, and I'll do it interstate as well. I've got 2 interstate schools already committed. And so if you want your Year 10 child to hear this, go to your school or contact me and let me know, and I will contact your school with the proposal of what it'll cost the school nothing.
There you go, listeners. So John's offer is, if your child is in Year 10 or even in Year 9 going in.
That's what we want.
Yeah, we want them in Year 9 this year, going into Year 10 next year. Contact John on Carmen's, what was the website again, John?
Just carmen.com.au.
Very easy to find, carmen.com.au, and say that you've listened to Resilience Mindset podcast and that you've heard him and the offer, and let's see if we can get it into your child's school.
That's right.
I think, very, very valuable for our society in a whole. Motor vehicles aren't going anywhere. They're going to be around and only get worse.
Yep. Our children are going to take us into the future. I'm really confident. I'm right behind them. I believe in them, and we all must believe in them, and they will make such a difference. And in the schools, I say to the kids, I'm not going to ask anybody if you've been a passenger in your mum and dad's car when they're driving, if your mum or dad has been on the phone. I don't want to know, because I know every one of you have seen them. And we must be stopping these simple things that can be so deadly.
I actually, on my phone, have a do not disturb.
Good. Yes, that's the way.
It's on most of your phones. So if you're not aware of this, guys, you go to the settings and you click do not disturb. And as soon as I'm in a vehicle and it starts up, it's on do not disturb. And I can't see text messages, and I can answer a call only if it comes through from a certain number.
Yes.
Through that, and it'll come through the car speaker. But no texting, none of that on there at all. So it's a simple little button just to push in the settings on your phone, but we'll save your life and the people in your car and anyone else on the road. As well.
Yeah. So if anybody orders the book on my website, I sign it for them, personalise it for them. And in there is also what I tell students is the piece of gold. That's our bookmark. So there's Carmen on the bookmark.
So Carmen's at the top.
Carmen's at the top. with Carmen Road Safety, and it has fatigue all the way down there because Carmen fell asleep at the wheel. But on the back is our piece of gold. When I had my car accident and I was in intensive care in hospital, Carmen was just 15 years old. And these are the words that Carmen wrote to me, and they're in the book as well. These are the words that my 15-year-old Carmen wrote to me on her Get Well card. And I'd like to read them to you because every student...
I'm going to need tissues, aren't I, John?
Every adult gets it. No, you're right. She said, "Dad, I love you. I love you more than anything. The feeling of darkness, the feeling of loneliness, the feeling of not having a father nearly broke my heart. The feeling of not seeing you was like a bomb going off inside of me. The thought, the pain that went through us all was like a nothing that swept our hearts, a nothing that dug deeper and deeper every minute, every second of the day. But then to hear your voice and to see your face, it gave me that love that every one of us thought we had lost. I love you, Dad. I love you more than anything. Love, Carmen."
Now,
And
for
2.5
those of you
years-
that could not see that then, John knows that off by heart. He didn't read that off the book,
No, I
Mark,
didn't.
did you?
No, I know it off by heart, yeah, my word. And just behind me on the wall over there is the actual card in a frame. So, yeah, which is just great. And we're just so fortunate Carmen is in our lives.
Mm.
And this book is a book about family. It's actually not specifically an education book, but every student that's sitting in the classroom reading this will actually, at a certain stage, people
Well, it
always
hits their
tell them,
core. It hits the
Yeah.
core of it.
Yeah, people are coming to me and saying, "I was reading about your family," and then all of a sudden it became my family.
Mm.
And that's the thing about it. It is just all
Wow,
personal.
such a powerful thing.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's great.
All right, well, we're going to move on with a few more questions now.
Oh,
John.
okay. Certainly.
Thank you for sharing everything that you just have.
That's good.
When
Yeah.
we get off air, I've got another idea for you, but I'll wait until we get off.
Good on you. Okay.
Something has just come to my mind. You may
Thank
be
you.
already in the process of doing it, but you know how my mind works with everything
Yeah, well,
that
yours
I
will
do.
be working better than mine. It's younger.
Yeah, but I also have an acquired brain injury, so
Do you really? Okay.
yeah, so we'll see about that.
Yeah.
How do you cope with pressure? So, you know, there's been a lot of pressure in your life. How do you
Yeah.
cope with that?
Well, I have to say that because of my brain injury,
Mm.
I'm a really placid person. But when the pressure comes on, if it's with anybody else apart from my family, I'm fine.
Yeah.
But with my family, I can fly off the handle. And it's like they've always said, you take it out on the ones you love for some reason. And I don't know why, and I'm really disappointed that I do. And then I apologise later, but and they understand. They, as in the book, as Katrina said, by the way, Katrina, Michelle, and Jasmine each wrote a chapter in the book, which
fantastic.
is just absolutely amazing. But they said we didn't have the same dad as what we had before when he had his car crash because of the short-term memory problems. And they used to put sticky notes on the car steering wheel to tell me what I was doing and where I was going. And I used to go crook and then go in and do what I was supposed to be doing and didn't do it. So anyway, so with pressure, I'm actually really good with pressure.
So
Except if it's a personal pressure.
Let's just also say, you know, car accidents don't just kill people. They damage people that then have to live in that damaged body or that damaged mind.
Correct. Yes.
Until the day that they die. And
Yes.
it doesn't just impact them, it impacts their whole family and changes the dynamic of the whole family as well.
Yes.
And
people, Justine,
we see the fatalities on the road, which I'm not undermining whatsoever. But there are a lot more people that have been damaged permanently.
Yeah, through injury. Yeah.
That are through injury that are also taking on society. You know, extra in the hospitals, extra like all their medical and all of that. If they just stopped and slowed down and
do what I tell them all to do, leave an hour earlier. early
Yeah.
when you're going anywhere. When I go to Leopold to give a talk next Monday at Probus at Leopold in
Yeah.
Geelong, I have to be there by 9:30.
Mhm.
I'll leave Ballarat, which is only an hour and a quarter, or an hour and 17 minutes away. I've already looked that up. See, I prepare because of my
Where are
short-term.
you coming from?
Ballarat.
Oh, Ballarat, yes.
Yes. So I'll be leaving really early. I'll be there by at least 8:30.
Mm-hmm.
I always leave an hour early in case I get tired, and I urge people to always take that power nap if you're getting tired when you're driving, because that's my passion, is because that's how we lost Carmen.
Mm-hmm.
And she fell asleep at the wheel. But just leave early. Mate, give yourself plenty of time. Enjoy your drive. Enjoy life.
If you're on time, you're late.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly right. And when you talk about my short-term memory and your
I have short-term memory issues too. So
okay, well, I have written, you can't see it here in big texter, Justine, on the top of my book, because that's what I'm like.
That's all right. It's on the screen down the bottom, John.
I know, that's right. And I was very pleased.
And how many times did I stuff your last name?
I know, that's right, exactly.
Yeah. I was calling
we got one in common.
John Maher, and it's not.
That's right. It's John Maher. Yeah, that's right.
John Maher. And then, so this is why we were having a joke at the beginning, guys, because 6 times we had to do the re-recording of the beginning because I kept stuffing up the name, and then we had some lags and that, and then I got the name right, and then it stuffed up, and then we had to do it again, and I went back to Maher.
We got a drink of water.
Yeah, and then we got a drink of water as well.
Mm-hmm.
What's a quote that you live by, John?
The quote that I live by? If it is to me, it's up to me.
Yeah.
Because I've taken charge of my life, and I've taken charge of it, but I know that Carmen is with me. So I truly believe that this book will end up in the schools, because Carmen won't allow it not to be, because she knows down the track that she will save so many lives. And at 2050, as I was saying, there'll be 8,800,000 lives will have learnt Carmen's legacy. Now, those people, the oldest will be 43. So when the minister asks me next time, what about the 40-year-old? In 2050, we've educated those 40-year-olds. And this is the future of Australia, because nothing is going to change immediately. There's no reason why things can change on our roads. We haven't got driverless cars. We haven't got... We always have the human input, and they can put up as many side barriers as they like and things like that, safety barriers. But the problem is going past them as a vehicle with a human sitting behind the steering wheel.
That's right.
Yep.
Yeah. And what stops that human driving into them themselves?
That's it.
They may not go on the other side of the road, or they still can, like what happened in Geelong the other week.
Yes, exactly. That's right.
Went straight through the safety barriers onto the other side of the road and head on into a ute. So
yes.
That's when I think we lost 4 in a week around here. Unbelievable.
It is unbelievable.
If you could go back to your 18-year-old self, what's one piece of advice that you'd give yourself?
Don't marry a redhead. No, I did not say that. I did not say that at all.
We'll blame your frontal lobe.
My 18-year-old self. Do you know, I would say that do exactly what I've done. I have nothing to regret. I have the best family. Ange has been amazing the way she has stuck by me. I know that with my frontal lobe damage, it changed me. Ange is still with me, and there are families.
How long have you been married?
51 years on the 13th of November it'll be. Yep, 51 years on the 13th of November.
That's nearly as long as I've been on the planet.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. Yeah, no, I wouldn't change a thing, because if I changed anything, I wouldn't have had the beautiful children that I've got, the grandchildren. I would never have met Carmen and had her in my life for 18 years and 3 months. So, and met all the people like yourself, because Carmen took me on a journey where I've met just some amazing people. Some people, as we said earlier, have gone out of our lives, but that's not their fault, and that's not, because we all move on. We all have to move on.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. They reckon that in one lifetime that you'll have 5 friends, only
Yes,
5
that's
that
it.
are closest to you.
That's right. That's
And
right.
you'll have one that'll follow you through every stage.
Yes,
So
yes.
that's nice.
That's right. It is nice. Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so now some fun questions, John.
Okay. Yes.
If you won $10 million tomorrow, what would you spend it on?
Oh, what would I spend it on? I would spend it investing for my grandchildren.
There you go.
I'd put investments for my grandchildren.
If you could live anywhere in the world, where would you live?
Ballarat, because that's where my grandchildren are.
I've got grandkids in 2 different states, so
yes, yeah.
I'd be buying a house in far north Queensland.
Oh, would you? Okay, right.
Yes, I could go up there in winter. I go up there in winter anyway. I'm up there 3 times this winter.
Good on you.
What was your favourite subject in school?
Football.
Aussie rules.
Yes. I was terrible in school because all I wanted to do was finish school and play football and cricket. I would fail mid-year and manage to pass at the end of the year, but I was a terrible student. I feel really sorry for my teachers. I wasn't bad. I was just naughty. If you like, I couldn't stop talking, as you can probably tell, and I was always talking.
Never tell that. I could.
No, that's right. Yeah, all my reports would come back talking in class all the time. Talking in class.
Yes, that was mine.
Yeah, good on you. Good.
Good as she applied herself.
That's it.
And the funny, and I've mentioned this before, I was actually in the bottom English class.
Yes.
All right, so I couldn't read properly and I couldn't spell properly, and we had 5 English classes, and I sat in the bottom class. And I think that's quite funny now, because I'm an Amazon best-selling author and I have a publishing business, and it's funny how the world turns around.
I failed English every year.
Yep, me too.
I was hoping. Yep.
Yeah. And out of all my friends, I'm the one that's published books, and they were in like the top level of the classes, and they haven't. So
no,
anyway. Okay, pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
Pineapple on
pizza, yes or no?
Pineapple.
Yes, you like pineapple?
Yep,
on pizza. What's your favourite pizza?
Aussie.
So you want to try a Justine special?
I'm gluten free now, so I'm not allowed to eat anything like that.
No, a Justine special. You can have gluten. I'm gluten free as well. So you have gluten Justine special.
Justine, okay.
All right. So you have gluten free down the bottom.
Yep.
And then you do an Aussie.
Yep.
With pineapple.
Yep.
With chicken.
Yes.
Parmesan cheese, onion, and mushrooms, double cooked.
I can't wait to meet you in person.
We'll have pizza one day.
We'll have pizza.
Oh, and a bit of garlic over it as well. How good does that sound, listeners?
That sounds great.
I know. Okay, toilet paper roll, forwards or backwards? Has it got a beard
forward.
Or a mullet? See, I knew we were friends.
Yep.
Knew we were friends.
Yep. That's right.
What's one question that you wish that I'd asked you but I didn't?
What am I doing now, sports-wise?
What are you doing now, sports-wise, John?
Watching my grandchildren play. I will travel from Ballarat, watch for 3/4 of a game, then drive out to Bungaree and watch the next 3/4 of my other grandchild. Then I will go over to Dunstown and watch Tess play netball. It's great. I was even watching them train last night here in Ballarat. So I just love my sports, and I am so proud of my grandchildren and watching them play sports. So
and I can hear that passion in your voice.
Yeah, love it. Yeah.
So one more time, John, where can my listeners find you online?
Yes, at Carmen, CARMEN.com.au. And there's a bit of a story in there about me and about what we do. And the book's in there. You can order your book online. It is $19.99.
Fantastic price.
Yep, but it does cost $6 for postage, since postage has gone up again now.
I know.
But in here, I'll have Carmen's bookmark in there. But if you want more, and I will sign it and personalise it for you. But if you have 6 kids, please let me know that you want 6 of these, and I'll send them to you. I've got plenty.
That's the bookmarks.
The bookmark with Carmen's message on the back. Yeah. And when you get the bookmark, once you've finished reading the book, you take it out of the book and you put it under the sun visor of your car, because Carmen's job is to look after us all on the roads. Mm. And I will show you what there's 1,000 people with these.
So they're the old pixie photo.
They're the old photo and they've been put into the key ring, and there's over 1,000 people with Carmen in the key rings. Yeah.
That's amazing. So maybe one of the listeners is out there that owns a bookstore and would like to stock your books. I'm sure that if you got in contact with John, you could work out something with him and his publisher. So, John, I would like to thank you for being on the Resilience Mindset podcast today. It's been an absolute pleasure. I'm very humbled on having you as a guest and you sharing Carmen's legacy with my listeners. You're doing such an amazing job for our future generations. And getting emotional again.
That's great.
I, as a grandparent and a parent, thank you.
Yeah, that's great. Well, what we all do after my talks is we all have a cuddle. So here is my cuddle to you.
Our virtual hug.
Yeah, that's right. And if anybody purchased as a book off me down the street or at a market or wherever it might be, they all get a cuddle, because that's the thing that we miss the most about Carmen. And I say to everyone, cuddle the people you love every single time you see them. And last night at the football, Max was in there at the change rooms after the game, and as soon as I walked in front of all of his under-19 mates, and there were some senior players there as well, he just walked straight up and gave me a big cuddle. Now, that's what family and love is all about, and life should be all about.
My nana always had a saying. She said, never let the sun set on an argument.
Correct, yeah. Mum said that. Yeah.
And always tell your family that you love them when you say goodbye, because that may be the last time that will ever happen. So when we talk on the phone, it's always I love you. When we see each other, it's like I love you. I could talk to my daughter 4 times a day and we end the phone every single time with I love you.
Wonderful. That's wonderful. Yeah. And isn't it so sad for the poor young people in particular who don't have that love in their family life, and those that feel the need to run away from home and all that. I feel you just wish that you could bring them all in and have them all feel the love of a family, because there's nothing like it.
That's exactly right. All right, listeners, well, we're going to wrap it up today. It's been a bit of an emotional one for me. I've nearly broke down and cried a couple of times. So all good tears. So anyway, listeners, you know the drill. Until next time, you stay resilient.
With over 11 years public speaking expertise, Justine thrives on delivering a powerful and empowering keynote to audiences of all sizes. From a packed room of 500 people to an intimate gathering of 50 people, Justine will command the room with her inspiring journey and engaging anecdotes. Email hello@justinemartin.com.au to book Justine for your next event. We hope you enjoyed the Resilience Mindset podcast. Remember to subscribe to the podcast to get your weekly fix listening to Resilience Queen Justine Martin. Follow Justine on social media at Resilience Mindset or log on to justinemartin.com.au. And until next time, remember, life doesn't get easier or more forgiving. We get stronger and more resilient.